I am Devin Craig, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
All right, you're listening to another episode of Results Leader.fm. Welcome back. And today's guest is on a mission to help organizations and the people within them flourish. He helps them build awesome workplace cultures through honing clarity and building super people managers and highly cohesive teams. He is the author of the book called Super Manager. Go pick up a copy, or at least you'll want to after today's interview with Devin Craig. Welcome to the show, Devin Craig. So glad to be speaking with you again. I know we had an awesome pre-interview. I couldn't wait to get you on here. So are you ready to rock this thing, brother?
Yeah, let's do it.
So here's the easy question to get us going. What book or books have you given most as a gift?
Probably The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Anything from Patrick Lencioni. Highly recommend. He's my celebrity crush, that's for sure. Yeah, he's got a lot of great ideas. So anything he writes, he's wrote probably, 14 books back there on this shelf. One full shelf's dedicated to him. So anything Patrick Lencioni behind me.
Love it, man. All right, another fun one before we get into the hard stuff. What purchase of under $100 has most positively impacted your life?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. Probably the same thing. I got this. It's what kind of kickstarted me on my business and doing team coaching and things like that was actually this accompanying guide kind of thing that goes along with Patrick Lencioni's stuff and kind of helped guide me, coach me, gave me some materials so I could actually start doing workshops and team building stuff for people. And I've used that thing over and over again. That thing's pretty worn down, and I'm pretty sure it was under $100. I can't remember exactly, but close.
Yeah, man, putting it to work. So how has an apparent failure set you up for later success?
Yeah, you know what? That's why I do what I do now is because I've had quite a few of those. So the one story I tell actually is, and this is probably good timing. So early in my management career, I first learned kind of leadership and management from military. And this is kind of my first non-military like experience. And I was in a Fortune 500 company as a mid-level manager. And I was sitting in this little quiet, boring conference room. And I was the air in the space was really nervous and anxious. And I was really nervous and anxious. I was sitting across the table from someone else, another human being. And the reason that we were both really nervous is because we spent months in conversation about kind of all this stuff we need to do and fix and whatever, right? And so we're sitting there looking at each other. I'm sweaty, nervous, shaking, but I finally work up the courage to say what I need to say. And I'm sorry, I got to let you go. And the reaction I got from this person, I did not expect. They stood up from their table, pounded both fists on the table. The chair flung behind them and smacked the wall. They pointed their finger in my face and just started screaming. I don't even remember what. I was so freaked out. And finally, after what felt like minutes, but it was probably only a few seconds, they charge out of the room, yelling and screaming at anybody who would listen, just on and on and on. And again, felt like hours. So it was probably just seconds. They finally leave the building. And I'm just sitting there and like dismay, like, oh my God, what just happened, And at first, it's easy to kind of say, man, what a jerk, right? And to blame it on them. But what I quickly realized was like, in that moment and up to that point, honestly, I was in that moment, I was a bad boss. Not just because I let them go, because you have to do that sometimes as a leader and a manager when something's not working. But the part that was bad for me, or that I could have done better, was I could have done a better job of connecting with that person. I could have done a better job helping them to realize that this is the journey we were on. I crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and did everything this company told me I was supposed to do. It trained me very well on the risk management side of firing someone, and a very terrible job at the humanity of what someone's going through when you deal with that. And so that kick-started me off on this journey now of why I'm so passionate about leadership and management and culture is because I was that bad boss. I was tired of working for other bad bosses, and I really wanted to do something differently. So that's kickstarted the learning and the journey and the degrees and everything else to learn more about leadership and management. And I did have to fire more people, but I never had that experience again. Instead, I was getting hugs and handshakes versus, finger pointing and profanity. So yeah, that was probably the story I use all the time that really kickstarted me off on a new path and a new journey about leadership and management, what I do now.
And that's one of my favorite things that we talked about the last time was the focus on culture. And
Mhm.
when you say, I like that you took the accountability there and said I could have been a better manager. So what did you do differently that gets you hugs and love now, even if you're letting someone go?
Well, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, what I learned through all the different stuff, all these books on the, back behind me here, the courses I've taken, the master's degree, all that stuff. At the end of the day, what I realized that it boils down to is really having people's back and really having a genuine care and interest in them. And when I started to do that more and really try to individually kind of reach out to that person when they were struggling, I made it more about less about me holding them accountable and more about helping to gently point out to them when there was something that was missing or when there was a gap between what they were thinking they're doing and where they wanted to be, right? And so when we pointed that out, we talked that through. I'm just playing consultant basically at that point. I'm just playing coach at that point, even though I'm still fulfilling my obligation and agenda as a manager, saying like, we really need to be here, right? And we're not there yet. I just kind of point that out to them and help and showcase that to them and teach them and guide them to like, hey, we're not getting to this point. What can we do? How can I help you? And then we just revisit that conversation and we say, okay, are we getting there yet? No. Okay, that's kind of a problem. What don't you think? Okay, it's not working. I can tell you're spinning your wheels, but we're not making any progress. Like, what do you think about that? Right. And eventually, as that conversation goes on, they realize, like, yeah, this is on me. I've been doing everything I can. It's not working. So I'm just going to opt out. Right. And that's when I found success is like basically later in my management career, I gauged my success on the least number of write-ups I would write or corrective actions or documents or paperwork. I hate paperwork. So if I could avoid it like the plague and instead help people get there on their own, that was success. Right. Because then they're opting out, they're moving on, they're giving me a handshake on the way and say, hey, Devin, I know it didn't work out, but thanks for your support. And then they move on to something that helps like make them more successful. Right. And I would much rather that. Like what I had to realize is like no one likes to suck. And if they're being unsuccessful, they're miserable too. And so they're miserable. You're miserable as the manager because you want them to produce better results. The company's pissed because you're not getting the results that you need. And so no one's winning. So what the manager in that capacity needs to do is really reach out to that person and say, this isn't working. Like, don't you see what I'm seeing? And if not, let's make sure we're singing up the same sheet of music. Start there and then move from there, basically.
And what I hear you saying is really being more proactive and intentional,
Mhm.
getting in there and being preemptive. So I love the idea of getting in there early and helping them realize, is this for you? Is this not for you? How can I help you, whether it's to be here or not? That takes some courage and some guts.
Yeah,
No
it
wonder you're getting
does.
hugs.
Yeah, right.
Like, I got to get out of here.
I mean, not today in this COVID world, but yeah,
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
All right. So let's go to something fun. What is the most worthwhile investment you have ever made?
In myself. So in along this journey, things like I wouldn't point to my master's degree specifically. It was great. Go Zags. I went to Gonzaga for their organizational leadership program. That's probably the biggest one because it was the most expensive. But there's lots of smaller things I've done like that, either in a mentor or a coach or something like that to help me along that journey or the journey of my business. So anytime it was investing in myself through some form like that, education or a coach or something like that, that's always paid off massive dividends.
I got to follow up on that because I'm always curious about this, and I just had a conversation about it earlier. How do you pick a mentor or a coach?
I mean, I guess at first it's either one of two ways. Either someone who's just I've been referred to by someone else that I trust, or someone that I've like sought out and researched because of they have the same philosophy or values and how they lead and what they do. So it's typically one of those two ways, but basically like the goal there is the alignment of values and philosophy and approach and things like that. So that doesn't become pain point essentially. If you're wanting to kind of be like them in some future state, right? They want to be aligned.
Yes, sir. Now let's have some fun. You ready for some fun?
Sure. But that's what we've been doing.
What are bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
There's plenty of those. I guess when it's the opposite of one I'm trying to help them do, like treat people with more humanity. And the recommendations is, now let's just fire them, or now let's just get rid of them, or now let's just be done with our people in general, right? Anything that goes along the lines or goes against the grain of like what we're trying, especially if they're trying to get more done with their current team or build and develop their leaders. And if their automatic response is, if they're not doing, let's cut them or whatever, if it's against that kind of like approach we're trying to ultimately bring to life, yeah, it just doesn't work. Basically, if they're taking the approach of like, people ultimately will not do what they should do, right, or can't be trusted, but I'm trying to encourage, no, you should trust people and give them space to do what they need to do, then it's going to never work, right? Because you have one philosophy in your mind, and even though you're acting in one way, it's against what you actually believe. And so it's always going to be at odds with each other and just going to cause stress and frustration.
I have to ask, man. So tell me what you mean when you say treat people with more humanity.
So like I said, there's a, in management, leadership, whatever, and honestly elsewhere in life, I think most decisions of how we interact with people come down to really one of two decisions, in my opinion, is, do we inherently feel people are good and can be trusted and trustworthy, or not? And if you choose not, then most of your actions, reactions, and systems and structures and adoptions of things will be in relation to one of those two philosophies. And if you try to ride a fence on those two philosophies, there's times when you want to protect yourself, sure, whatever, put systems and safeguards around helping people to make good choices, right? But you still ultimately trust them, right? So I'm not suggesting like, total chaos and have no structuring of any kind. But what I am saying is like, have your structures either complement or accentuate which one of those two things you believe. And in my opinion, the right route to go is the route of trusting people. And that's what I mean, bringing humanity, because if you do feel people are inherently good, then you'll act accordingly. And the systems you build and the way you interact and things like that. But when we have an inherent distrust of people, that kind of takes away humanity from people, in my opinion, and makes them kind of more like cogs on the machine or something like that, right? All of those euphemisms we use for big companies and things like that, and how they use and treat people. And yeah, a lot of that's true, because there is an inherent distrust or inherent devaluing of what those individual people are. And I think by trusting and embracing people more and the humanity of people more, we'll actually see, much greater fulfillment of human potential and ultimately organizational potential if we do that more and better.
Man, that's powerful. What I'm hearing, I'm translating it into abundance and scarcity mindset as I'm going through some things in my business. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So powerful stuff there. All right. So in the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I think at times when I've gone into situations, sometimes, job titles or business sizes or numbers and all that kind of thing can be at first intimidating, or they have been to me at least, so the larger the clients that I work with, or the types of people that I work with, if there's this perception of success or they must have it all figured out type thing. And I've dealt with this, quite frankly, most of my working life or adult life of kind of putting people on a pedestal a bit, right? And once I've started to realize like these are human beings who have got all their own kind of flaws and own kind of challenges and difficulties and really just need some help. Yeah, sure, they've achieved success, but they still need help. They still need guidance. They still need coaching. They still need support. The more I've realized that, and that we're all really a lot on the same, playing field in that way, then it's helped me to kind of reach out to people of different, statuses or success levels or whatever have you more effectively, and actually help them or provide value to them.
All right, Devin, what area of your business would you like to see better results?
Maybe culture is still, people are knowing it and talking about it, but at least my perception is, based on being out there and talking to people about it, it's known. It's something people know they should do it. They know that they should get better at it, but it seems very ethereal or big or complex or whatever. And so I sometimes have a hard time selling it because it seems so big, right? Selling in the perspective of getting that help, right? Or getting coaching or the consulting or the structure building around it. So it still feels a little fringe, maybe like leadership development did, 15 years ago or something like that. So sometimes being on the cutting edge, it's hard to, people that got like the idea or like the theory of it, but maybe not the application of it yet, because they want to kind of see it more proven out, I guess. So yeah, it still feels like I'm a little bit on the fringe of trying to bring this to the world a little bit. So yeah.
When I saw that in your profile, that was one of the things that attracted me. The culture being the competitive advantage was like huge, because we believe that here. And so loved it. So last question, You might want to sit down for this. I know.
Okay.
What results are you most proud of?
The results that I've been able to produce for pretty much every client I've worked with, basically in helping them build better environments for the people that are there. And the way I measure that is like how engaged are people, right? Through kind of sort of traditional employee engagement methods, but a little more kind of on steroids. And so just basically seeing and feeling, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen this too, Jonathan. Like you can walk into a place or a place of business or a team or an organization or a business, and you can feel the energy difference between one that is uplifting people and one that is not. And so, I mean, just in that context, seeing the difference of a starting point, working through them and feeling the energy difference at the end of that is major, but then measuring that through like getting people's feedback and opinions and turnover rates and all that kind of stuff to see that all come around. But I've been able to do that now with pretty much every single client I've worked with to varying levels or whatever focuses they have, but been able to help them basically create a better environment where people are thriving and ultimately the organization is thriving with them.
And giving them that competitive advantage. Man, Devin, you're super generous. I appreciate you. So everybody knows this guy would not accept the questions ahead of time. So I got to surprise him with some of these. Devin, where can people find out more about you?
Either the typical social media challenge on LinkedIn. Welcome to reach out to me there. It's probably where I'm most active, but also on Facebook, my websites. If they wanted to see some content, sign up for some of my updates and things like that, I send out at Craig Consulting Group, ccg.com. Sorry, it's kind of a long one. Yeah, a few different ways.
Love it. And we will share links in the show notes. Brother, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing your results and most importantly, your client results with us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, John, for having me. I appreciate it.
That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.